We are here to talk about Bob Trevino Likes It. What a film. This is your feature directorial debut,
yes.
right? And that must be exciting. Of course, it premiered at South by Southwest and won some awards. So very, very awesome. Congratulations on the success of the film so far. And we were just talking in the hallway about how this is like one of the very few chances to see it for the immediate future.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so excited about SIFF. I've heard good things for a long time, and I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Well, thank you. I mean, how's your SIFF experience been so far?
It's great. I love everybody that I've met. There was awesome weather, although I was loving it, and I heard the locals were too hot.
This is the thing. When it's, we are happy about high 60s, low 70s. As soon as you get over like 73, we start getting complaints. But that's just how it is up here. So let's start with talking about the synopsis of the film. Can you just kind of give an overview for people who are just discovering the film of what Bob Trevino what Bob Trevino Likes It is about?
Sure, absolutely. So Bob Trevino Likes It is inspired by a true story, and it came to me from an experience where I was looking for my dad online because he would kind of disappear for a year or two, sometimes get angry at me and over a small thing and just stop talking to me, which was a lot of fun. You know,
I mean, how heartbreaking. I watched the movie and I saw it happen to that character. This shouldn't happen to real people.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It was a tragedy in real at the time, but plus, tragedy plus time.
Right.
We have a dramedy instead of a comedy, but it's got humor. And one of these times I couldn't reach him. I was like, I'm sorry. I was such a people pleaser. I was like, call me back. We can fix this. And I called him and I emailed him and I tried everything and he wasn't getting back to me. And I thought maybe he's on Facebook. So I put his name into Facebook and my dad's name was Bob. And I accidentally friended another man with his full name. And that man became more of a dad to me and more paternal and more friendly to me than my dad had ever been. So I felt so blessed by that experience. I thought, well, now I need to write a story about this, about how small acts of kindness can really change someone's life.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Wow. And what a story. And I think it's so well executed here in this film. There's so much empathy built into these characters and, or at least the ones that we like. Robert, on the other hand.
Absolutely.
So there was a scene in the film that obviously you said it's a dramedy, right?
Yeah.
And I think I remember very clearly when I laughed the loudest in the film was when Bob, the one that Lily finds online, he comes over to fix the toilet, right? There's a toilet mishap. And so he comes over to help fix that situation. And during their conversation, he ends up saying, Lily, when you get older, you're going to learn that sometimes in life, shit happens. And I laughed so hard because it's not funny, but it is funny because in this context, this is the first piece of life advice that he gives her, and it's a dad joke.
Totally.
Tell me about crafting this character in this film and how you went about inserting that kind of comedic component to it and building that chemistry between him and Lily.
Oh man, well, I thought, this Bob, this Facebook Bob, he can't try to charm. He can't be flirtatious. He can't try to charm. The only time he can be funny is when he's making a bad joke or on accident. He's not actually, which is funny because John Leguizamo's kind of built a career off being very, very funny. Very charming. But he has John has such an amazing heart. So all he had to really do is kind of be himself. So it was interesting, kind of looking at what do two kind of broken people who are kind of alone that meet and need to heal each other, they've been so isolated, and so these moments of levity are like if you notice in that scene, in that particular moment, he's laughing really hard, he needed that laugh, so, and I think there's moments like that for her. It also, another really interesting thing I found both through writing it and through working with the actors was that both of these people are so used to serving others in their whole life. They're people pleasers. Bob wants to keep his wife Jeannie happy. Lily wants to keep her dad happy, or anybody else. Daphne, her friend, what does she need? And so, and only through finding each other and trying to help the other person did they get what they need. So it's like two people pleasers finding each other and accidentally healing themselves.
The irony, but also how satisfying in this film to have that dynamic work out in the way that it did. That's so awesome. We're gonna talk more about the film, but there's a parallel that I want to kind of loosely make. 2 years ago at South by Southwest, there's another film that played called I Love My Dad. I just was wondering if this year there were any comparisons between your film and I Love My Dad with, there's some similarities, of course, being fractured relationships between fathers and adult children. There's the use of social media to make a connection. And you both won the jury prize.
And audience, we both won both.
Exactly, right? So I just wanted to know if that happened to come up while you were at South by.
I thought, I was a little worried about that happening, but it didn't really happen. But I think one thing is that the tone of both movies are so different.
They are. They're very different. And that's why I say loosely, because I don't want to make any direct comparisons. They're two very different films.
Yeah, of course. But no worries at all. I saw I Love My Dad at, I think, the Nantucket Film Festival, maybe? Or maybe I saw it after that. I can't remember. But I met James Morcini at the Nantucket Film Festival, and then I think I saw the movie after that when it was streaming.
Right.
But there were parts of it I could really relate to. I'm not very judgmental, I'm not a very judgmental person, and I also, everything comes from heart, like everything. Right. So I saw that movie. It was definitely a cringe comedy for me. I Love My Dad. I know a lot of people love cringe comedy. I tend to go from heart all the time. So that was a very different, for me, it was a very different film, know. But gosh, because I think when I was talking to John about cringe comedy, and I think the reason that I can't relate to it so much is because so much of it seems to be rooted in shame. It kind of prioritizes shame over love. It's like, we empathize with the character because we're experiencing the shame we think they're experiencing. Where I'm hoping that and there's audiences for both, right? Obviously. Yeah. But me personally, I have to prioritize connection, or the laughter being towards connecting. I don't want anyone to feel shame, ever. Like hopefully my movies are the anti-shame,
right.
So we're just very different, similar stories, very different ways to tell them.
Absolutely, yep. And like you said, there's audiences for both.
Yes,
and, so that was just an interesting thing that I noticed. And I actually interviewed James here at SIFF after South by. So I just had all these parallels. But
he's super nice.
Really cool. I love James. He's such a cool guy. But back on to Bob Trevino. In the technology component, marketing is something that I do as my day job, and so I'm on social media all the time. And social media has this not great reputation, right? It's typically seen as a toxic place, not really a place that you should be spending too much time. But also, it happens to be a place of connection. It is like the inciting incident for this film. Can you talk a little bit, or maybe put into words, what it is about social media and engagement on social media that really helps inspire connection, like what we see here in Bob Trevino?
I think, one thing I think that around this time, we're coming out of a pandemic. We were all so lonely, and we were using social media to connect because we couldn't even go outside for a little bit, And I think I'm an introvert, so that I just stayed inside after the pandemic too. I'm like, I'm already here, so I'll just stay here. So and I think coming out of that, having had so many negative stories about social media and having so many stories where it's gone wrong, really wrong, horrifically wrong. I think having a story right now where it's like, hey, it can actually go right, and it can be a place of connection, and you can find your community there, whatever community you're in. I think we had kind of drifted away from that in recent years, and there'd been a lot of still is a lot of bullying, and so I've been hoping that. I think we're all in need of heartfelt stories and connection, and I'm hoping that this story can be a reminder that, before you say that negative comment, there's another person on that. You have no idea what they're going through, and this is my Facebook Bob, my Facebook dad. he accepted my friend requests, and he was just kind for 9 years. Actually, the story is a couple months. He was actually 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so but I made the story shorter because I wanted to, for multiple reasons, production, but also to say it doesn't take 9 years. He had changed my life in a couple of months. So what can you do just with a little bit of kindness?
That's incredible. That's a really, really great perspective and mindset about it. Very awesome. I don't want to give any spoilers about how it ends or anything, but towards the ending, there's a really touching moment. It involves scrapbooking. This film ends on an incredibly emotional moment where scrapbooking is a place of healing for characters.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about the physical act of scrapbooking and having physical photos that has such a bigger and more lasting impact as opposed to the digital means that we have?
A lot of times we get so much of one thing that whatever the other thing is becomes more valuable, right? And we have so many digital photos now that it's like, oh wow, a real photo. Like, this is amazing, and it's tangible and it's real, and in involving, this is just kind of a side note, I had the scrapbooking character who's Bob's wife. I had modeled that after one of my best friend's mothers, who had been a scrapbooker. She's scrapbooked. She's like an expert. She scrapbooks all the time. She goes to conventions. She does all these things. And I had Rachel Bay Jones and I had us do a Zoom with her before we shot, and we're talking to her, and she says, "Well, you make these scrapbooks for your descendants, and without giving anything away, this is very emotional for me. This person didn't really have anybody to give that to, until that moment. So that
I'm playing the movie back in my mind now, and just like, that's so emotional.
To make all those and have no one to give them to.
Right.
So to just care of it's your legacy. It's like your family, and who you want to treasure this and hand it and give it. It's bigger than you in your life. So, but I think it was really interesting because. There are a lot of photos, as you saw. Barbie brought her childhood photos. We put those on the wall, and all over. It was really wonderful seeing. She's absolutely precious as a human, and also as a little human. And we had some photos of the child that were in the scrapbook, and those were actually a friend of mine's child that had the same. That character was modeled after that child who had a similar condition and didn't make it, So we had the weight of that on that scrapbook as well. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. If nobody's, they haven't seen it, but you'll need to see it to get what I'm saying. But those photos, there was the weight of that book because it wasn't just a character; it was real. This was a real human being that we all felt the presence of in those scenes. So there's just a lot of real, having the physical. Yeah, I could have green screened the book and whatever, but we needed the reality. Barbie needed her real photos there. We needed the real photos of the child in the book. And
absolutely. No, that's incredible.
Yeah.
There seems to be so much about your own experience and your own history and your own community that is baked into this film. Yeah. What has that done for you personally outside of the film? How do you feel about having documented this story in this way? And have you experienced any change, or what's that feeling like now that this is going out to the world?
That's such a good question. The movie is about chosen family, and I thought I had done my healing before I made the movie. I thought, oh, here, now I'm done, and I'm expressing it in this movie, And as having grown up without certain things that I really needed, and having found it in other people who became my family as well, I thought that was it. I thought, oh, here we go. Now I'm expressing it. Then when we were shooting the movie, the cast and crew really became my family, and we faced so many obstacles. We had the strike, thunderstorms. I mean, left and right. There was just every indie film faces, a slew of impossible odds, and a slew of obstacles. And I remember we'd be going through that, and I would look out and just feel the love and support of these wonderful people. And I thought it was almost too much. It was almost too beautiful. I went through a lot of trauma early on, and I was like, wow. They say you heal from your trauma not to deal with your trauma, but to learn to tolerate your joy.
Wow.
You know?
Oh, that's a quote.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what I was experiencing on set. I was like, I'm experiencing such joy from this beautiful chosen family on this set, and I have to go shoot my day. I can't get this emotional right now, but this is affecting me, you know? And it's just continued. They've stayed family, basically, you know, and I can't wait to work with them again. I'm writing like crazy just so I can see everybody again, you know? But I think that's, the healing continues is the big thing that I learned. It doesn't, there's different layers, and be open to every stage of it, you know?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The film is screening here at
Yes.
Seattle International Film Festival on the 15th and 16th. And I am very excited for Seattle audiences to get to see this film. I guess I want to know how you feel about the film screening here in Seattle, and maybe what you would like Seattle audiences to take away from it.
I love seeing the movie with an audience. I think it's really meant to be seen with an audience. It's a very connecting film. You know, I mean, of course you can see it alone, but like seeing strangers laugh together, have all sorts of emotions together. And I'm very, very excited about that. And everybody I've met in Seattle this whole trip, and previous trips to Seattle, has been amazing. I've just actually loved every single person I've met, if that's possible. So I'm like, oh my God, all those amazing humans in one room. Like I just can't, like I can't actually imagine it, you know? So I think if there's anything to take away from it, just that the people in the audience are your family too. We're all one big family, and you know, whatever you take away from the movie, the person next to you might take a different thing away, but both experiences are valid, and be there for each other. And, you know, people I don't know if I already said this, but people hand each other tissues. Like,
Oh, no,
like
you've not said
strangers.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
wow.
noticed many screenings, because we had test screenings,
Right.
and the people didn't know each other at test screenings. And then we had South by Southwest, and then we had one tastemaker screening. And all of the screenings, people have handed each other tissues, and that didn't know each other before. And I was like, this is so beautiful. Like so to laugh together, to cry together, like what else can you ask for, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that's just a moving aspect of this film in itself, not just like how touching the film is, but then that audience engagement with each other.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because we're in it in life together, and like we're all going through different things, and if we can just sit there and let each other hold space for each other's experiences and not judge and laugh and cry together, like what else can you ask for? You know, that's the power of cinema, you know. So.
Absolutely. I know Bob Trevino is still going out into the world, and more people are hopefully going to see it again soon. But what's next for you? What are you hoping for with the future of your career?
I'm writing a new script right now. It's called Rachel Donovan Has a Savior Complex.
I love your titles. You have great titles.
Thanks. I really do love. I really work hard on them. I'm like, because I like a sense of playfulness, you know, to them. But also like, who is this person and what is this about? You know, kind of. And so I'm writing that, and it's also inspired by a true story in my life, and not a sequel to Bob Trevino, but similar themes, you know. And then I'm also having a lot of meetings, going out for things, doing some pitches. So, and after the South by, when some open directing assignments came to me where I could be on a short list of people being considered, and that's exciting, you know. I think the big thing for me in the long run is that, you know, recently some people have asked, well, what do you want it all to mean at the end? You know, in 30, 40 years from now, what do you want everything to, you know? And I said, if there was one thing that I wanted it all to mean, across genres, across budgets, if you saw a Tracie Laymon film, you knew it was going to have heart, you know, and that's what I'm working towards. So every story, you know, no matter what it is, it's like, does it have heart, you know? And another thing that's particularly important to me is, does it challenge perceptions in some way, whether it's casting against type or showing a side of some, you know, or just general stereotypes, you know, like in general, like just kind of let's like shed those, like, and the generating empathy through diverse characters is like one of the biggest ways to do that, I think, especially in non-controversial films, because you can have everybody come see them. You know, if you have a controversial film, then people might put their guard up. Right. If you have a non-controversial film, people come, they relate to all the characters, and they change even though they don't even know they're changing. And then they're like, oh, they start talking about it, you know? And so that can impact the world. So does it have a heart, and does it challenge perceptions? Those are mine.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone who might be seeing the film soon, do you have any insight or perspective to impart on what they should expect or how they should come prepared for this film?
I would say bring tissues, but I think when I say that, people have their guard up. So what I'm going to say is come with an open heart and come ready to act. It's a very funny movie, actually. I think I've been timing the laughs, and I'm like, there's at least like 30 hardcore laughs in the movie.
Awesome.
So just come ready to have an experience with the people in the audience or whoever you're watching it with, and with an open heart and ready to have fun.
Well, when it comes to Lily's Facebook posts, Bob Trevino likes it. But when it comes to this film, I'm sure audiences everywhere are going to like it. And so congratulations. I think this is a stunning achievement on your part.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course.